Good morning, travelers, dream weavers, freedom fighters, truth seekers, lovers of all things fantastical, magical, and real. My name is Paula. I'm also known as P.B. Moreland, author of the 4 novels in the Whitebird series. The novels are about this beautiful woman named Crystal Blue who was born to illuminate humanity. And she has a band of travelers who travel with her around the world, helping to unveil the secrets of the ancients. If you're interested in any of those books and you want to learn more about these novels and me as the author, visit my website, and those details are in the description for my YouTube channel. I'm also an aquamarine water dragon. So I have the bloodlines of the dragon realm, and my dragon happens to be Crystal. When I named my protagonist Crystal Blue, I was unaware of this dragon lineage. But obviously my dragon her wings were wrapped around me gently when I started creating these stories for Crystal's journey and adding all the characters. And subsequently, last few months, I've had great awakenings, great discoveries of my soul's journeys. And I have met many, many, many helpers along the way, and one happens to be my dragon. The soul part of me is my origins are of the soul of the dragon realm. And I had that fire in me, that fire to look for freedom and truth and sovereignty, and I have forever since I can remember. I've been awake, let's say, awake to the realities of life since I can remember. So it's no surprise. And if you feel so inclined, subscribe to my channel. This is a growing YouTube channel. It's a sacred space. I have created sacred energies around these words. I've woven them together so that they can help you resonate into a frequency of awakening, if you so choose, of course. And you can hit that thumbs up like button. That helps to spread the message, and share this video if you feel so inclined. So that said, I would love to jump into the message of this morning. If you've watched any of my videos, you will start to understand, or you've already begun to understand, that I resonate best in the stillness and the pause of life. My last video that I created for you was on the 4th of July, and we discussed some of the underlying themes of this day and what it means for people, for different people. And today, when I awakened, I had this, oh, excuse me, I'm going to fix something on my computer here. So I will tell you a quick story. It's not a quick story, but an experience that I've had. I've had many in the last week. My days are quiet, filled with wonder and joy, and also being somewhat crabby and short-tempered, impatient, somewhat intolerant. So I've been bouncing back and forth, yet I always balance, I always reset. We are all human beings, and we are emotional. Our emotions set us apart from other beings in our cosmos, and so we must honor that. I don't want to shy away from those emotions, but I reset so that I don't have to stay in a place of discomfort, unreasonableness for very long. And I have had a remembrance, a memory, a remembrance of a lifetime where I um, walked alongside Saint Germain. It just came in very quietly, this memory. And it is real as me going to work yesterday. I was a candle maker's daughter in Provence. And so I was very clever with how I put ingredients together to create beautiful candles. And I loved lavender. I loved working with lavender. And one afternoon, this grand being whisked and waltzed into the shop, candle shop. Now we know the stories of Saint Germain in his lifetime. And he was known for being the magician, for manifesting out of thin air. Very grand, very grandiose, well known, bigger than life, and always with a large following, wearing grand clothes. This day that he waltzed into the candle shop, I walked up to him gently and I looked at him, to his beautiful eyes, and I said, "You don't need to wear the mask with me." And something shifted in his gaze. I remember it very well. And we formed a relationship because he believed me. He knew that I was not one who would ever seek out attention because I knew the man. I knew the soul of this being. We had a soul reconnection. And it wasn't to enhance my life, and it wasn't to enhance his life. It was to allow him to be the man that he was and is. It was to let him settle into the surety that we could have these very deep conversations, not philosophical, grandiose debates, but just gentle discussions about nature, about flowers, about scents, about the quiet things in life. And he would never feel that I would expose this softness of this soft side of him. He did not visit often. He was very busy. But when he did, we'd have these quiet, intimate conversations, sitting around a table with the candles lit. And it keeps a very special place in my heart. I've never been attracted to the grandiose image of Saint Germain. It's just never been something I've sought. But I've resonated with the name. And this memory was not a fantasy at all. It is a soul thread now woven into my being. And it's returning as other memories are beginning to return of, if it wasn't lifetimes here on this planet, other experiences. And it's very appropriate. And this memory reminded me of why I've always felt, since I can remember, compelled to seek out a being who is famous, overwhelmed with attention, pulled here and there, even though that is what they chose and what they want. I've always felt compelled to look into their eyes and tell them, "You don't need to wear the mask with me. I can create a sacred space where you can talk to me. We can have conversations. I will never betray your trust or expose your real self. You can be the man you are and the woman you are in my presence." And there are three beings on this planet now who walk this planet, and they're famous. And I've always felt compelled to meet them because I want to hold their hand and let them know this. But it is not important to meet these beings any longer. My understanding of this need has been met. And it is because of my relationship with Saint Germain hundreds of years ago that has stayed with me, that intimacy, because he is an extremely special soul, as we all are, but we had a connection. And I think when I think of that, I miss it, but I understand it now, and I don't need to seek it. I can have it on a daily basis with this memory that I have, where I can just be with Saint Germain at any time. This is how the awakening process works. It is not about a flash in the sky. It is not about somebody putting $1 million into your bank account. It is not about sitting in a med bed and having your body healed. It is reawakening the parts of your being, your soul, that have connections and relationships to other beings in our cosmos, and how we can settle into who we are and just expect our energy to serve us. And that is what our energy is. Our energy is our world around us that is here to serve us, not in a way of servitude. Sometimes people confuse the two, but in a way that we can expect, because it's a balance. It's not a give and take. If I give you this, you can give me that. It's just a whole essence of beautiful balance and weavings and memories. And another memory I had was of my grandsons, who are glorious, fiery creatures whom I adore. And we have a beautiful relationship, both of them. They are powerful, as many children are. And I have a particular role in their life as the wise and loving grandmother. I have decided when my grandsons were born, it was an innate knowing. My daughter is a phenomenal mother, very protective, very wise. She knows her sons, and their father is a wonderful father. He's very sensitive, and he knows what his sons need. Me, as their grandmother, I hold a sacred space for them because I have memories of our lifetimes together and why they particularly chose our family and why I resonate differently with each of them. And I allow them to be themselves when they're within my space. I don't have to be their mother, who works very hard, and she plays a role, and her role is defined, as is their father's. That said, and it is beautiful, and it's working out just perfectly for them in their roles, because my grandsons chose these two as their parents, as they chose me as their grandmother. And subsequently, we all choose each other. There is no accident there. And so when I'm with my grandsons, as I am often, and that is a blessing, I allow them to be themselves. I have no expectations of how they should act. And this is my gift to them. I am not affected by what others think. I allow them to be loud and fiery, to be soft and quiet, to just be themselves and who they came in to be. But I must add a caveat here. That doesn't mean my daughter and her and the father of their children don't do that. But I'm just talking about me, my relationship with these two individuals. I had a memory of a lifetime with my one grandson. I was in a village I think it was in Mongolia. I was a healer, and he was a boy who came to the village homeless, and I protected him. And he has been forever grateful for that. And he is a fire keeper. He's very fiery. And my other grandson is very intuitive. They're both very intuitive. And but they're almost opposites, and they love each other dearly. And they both found me because we had a contract, an agreement that we would find each other and we would allow us to be ourselves and not let the world influence how we react when we are in our little group of three. And because I've had these memories returning to me, it allows me to understand why I feel so compelled to be more natural around these two young souls. And it is a beautiful thing for me to have the opportunity to be part of their lives because they are very special, as all children are. As I go through my days and I think about me in my lifetimes, everyone I've ever encountered, I've had an experience with in a lifetime or two. We've all had many lifetimes on this planet. And one day I realized that I had a lifetime or two, not as a human, but as an animal. This memory that surfaced helps me to understand my affinity with the animal kingdom. I'm going back and forth because I'm trying to stay out of the sunshine. I love this spot. I love to sit here. Um, but I think the sun is now going to peek out and I might be cast in shadow. But what's important here is my message, not what I look like. Talked about my grandsons and how I do feel that I might be part of the sacred feminine watching over the new masculine. There are energies shifting and combining, and the feminine and the masculine are redefining their roles. And I do believe the new masculine is going to reclaim their softer side. They're going to be allowed. Sometimes society has not allowed our beautiful men to be men and just to settle into their emotions that have been shut down. And so I will never shut down my grandsons' emotions. I will allow them to be who they are. My youngest grandson, one day, he has a temper. This was a few years ago. He's not very old. And he was angry. He was angry. And I looked at him and I said, "Wow, your anger is powerful. Is that your superpower?" And he looked at me, he clenched his fist and he stomped his foot and he said, "Yes." I said, "Good. Use it wisely." And I do believe that that helped him understand that he could have his anger. He could not have to hide it because he needs to show it and use it wisely. So that is my role as their grandmother, and how it weaves into my remembrance of the animal life. One of them that I had was as an Arctic fox in Siberia hundreds of years ago. I lived outside the village. I lived alone. quite happily, very sacredly, I gave her the name of Esme. And she was the sacred protector who lived outside the village. She watched over the village. And the villagers knew this, and they loved her fiercely for it. And I was the wild sister spirit. So what she reflected back to me is my innate need to be free and wild and not tamed. You cannot tame me. I am a free spirit, a wild spirit. And remembering this beautiful life as Esme, the Arctic fox, the black eyes, the black nose, and the black tipped tail, who lived freely, was never in fear of being hunted or harmed, but she was a protector. She would alert the villagers in quiet stillness when they were going to be under threat. And she sat at the edge of the circle of the fire and let them know it was time to leave. And she died quietly under a full moon in a very sacred life. And that memory has woven into me an understanding of my wild spirit. Doesn't mean that I run around waving my arms being a wild person. Wild means untamed. Doesn't mean uncontrolled. It doesn't mean one who blasts out everything they think about. It just means my spirit is untamable. Is yours? How do you resonate with this? I suggest you have these moments to yourself as well, where you just ask your higher self to bring these memories to you in dream state, in meditation, what have you. I went ahead and I repositioned my couch. You can do that when your couch moves around. I love the sun, but for these videos and the purposes of me sharing my experiences with you, because there is no doubt in my mind that many of you are experiencing these as well, in a different way, of course, but why not have a discussion about it? Why not have a chat? Leave a comment at any time that you're watching this. Share your own experiences. If you have a memory of living a life as an animal, most of us have, because our souls are growing. Our existence will never, ever end. Ever. Never. And it's been here, it's not a linear experience. It's quantum. It's all-inclusive. And I'm sure I've had lifetimes as a horse. That freedom of running. When I see videos of horses running, I just sob. I sob in memory. So think about that when you're doing your journeys of awakening. And another experience I have had in the last few days, it's kind of on a different note here, but I wanted to bring everything in because I've had these journeys where last year I happened to resituate some of my funds, my monetary funds, because I wanted to take advantage of a particular opportunity. I'm glad I did. Won't get into the particulars because that's not important. As a result, I received a very large tax bill. Now, in my past, whenever I received a very large bill, I went into a kind of freeze mode, fear mode. Oh my gosh, I can't handle this. This is too much. And then I would get angry, like, well, that's not fair. Why me? Or I would want to protest and fight back. because personally, I no longer believe in the tax system, but I can't have peace in my life, in my soul, in my sanctuary, if I'm fighting something, if I am pushing against it in rage and anger. I did these transactions last year with eyes wide open. And so it was no surprise. But because I no longer believe in that system, the 3D system, doesn't mean that I cannot enter into it as a master, as a sovereign being, and just do my best. So I handled that tax bill in my way that I could handle it, in a mastery role, not in a fear, anger mode. To me, that's growth. Because I don't fight. If I'm walking through a fire, not a fire, if I'm walking through a city that's in chaos, let's say as an example, I'm not going to be the one throwing rocks at the old systems. I'm just going to be the witness, walking in mastery. I cannot change the tax system. I cannot change it. And then it's not my job to change it. It will change on its own in a way that it needs to be changed, and it will. But for now, I'm doing what I need to do for me to stay in a peaceful place. And I can handle what I did, set up payments. I can handle that. And for me, that is reclaiming a part of my sovereignty. I was worried that I betrayed myself by dancing with this system, with this very old corrupt system, that I involve myself in it. But in order for me to have peace, where I don't have to hide, where I don't have to worry about being found out and heavily fined and all of that, and I think you know what I mean, I chose to face it and deal with it, and it will be okay. And that kind of goes into the vein of the Jubilee, bringing in the Jubilee. So there are these narratives in our world of the Jubilee returning. The Jubilee was a system long ago where every 50 years, everything was reset to zero. Everything. Your, um, your, everything was like wiped out clean and rebalanced during this Jubilee. And that hasn't occurred in a very long time, but we have memory of this. Our souls have memory of these times of celebration when we could start over. So the fact when somebody brings up the term Jubilee, we rejoice and we expect it to happen because it's happened in our past and we carry that memory. But we can do this on our own. We don't need to have the government or another person do this for us. We can have our own reset. And so I chose to have my own reset where I can set my system to a space of peace. I am fine. My needs are met today. I have food on the table today. My animals are fed and taken care of. My body is healthy. I have a very comfortable spot to sit in. My needs are met. I can reset in that celebration of Jubilee daily. It's an ancient promise of debt relief, and I feel it stirring in my bones. I do not need to wait for the world to do this for me. I am sovereign. You are a sovereign being. I am no longer controlled by the powers that be. I'm an untamed spirit. So I'm going to act like one, but I'm also not going to put myself out there in a role to be a martyred, let's say. I don't need to do that anymore. And so along with the narrative of the Jubilee is the straw man revelation. Not sure if you've ever heard of the term straw man, but it is an account. It's the false legal identity created at birth. Some of you are aware of this, how our birth certificates are in all capital letters and we become corporate entities with social security numbers. This is not legal. However, when we hear about these straw man accounts, we expect this money to be given back to us that has been held hostage, or I'm not sure how to explain this. I completely understand it. Sometimes when I understand something very well, I don't always have the correct words to explain it to somebody else. Excuse me. And so I encourage you to just do that research on your own and know that I am becoming more aware of the truth behind systems and consent. That doesn't mean I'm going to stomp my feet and clench my fists and say, never again will I be part of this system. So I do encourage you to research and feel to what is true for you. Do your research. I've done mine. There is a lot of information out there, and use discernment when you do this research. We are not our legal names. Remember, we are light beings inhabiting form, and we are remembering. And it's going to take adjusting. I'm not going to be the person in the front lines fighting these corrupt systems. My sovereign master self will glide through this in honor of me as a peaceful person, but who knows herself enough that she can bring herself her own jubilee and know that I am not my legal name. And for now, I am part of this system. I am part of the tax system. But that doesn't mean that I have to bow down to it and feel enslaved. I can be part of it in sovereignty and doing the best that I can. There's another term that's being used out there is the RV, reevaluation and inner wealth. And these are whispers of the financial resets and currencies being balanced. And so I think this is oftentimes our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. That is very appropriate. I have a very heart-centered stance, and I'm not waiting in lack. I am not waiting for this reset. I'm witnessing in grace, and you can do that because we do not need to wait for these systems to give us what we desire. We can create and manifest for ourselves by letting our energy serve us. True wealth begins with remembrance. Then all else follows. We remember our sovereignty and our grandiose beings. We're huge, energetic beings that are having an earthly experience. Our bodies, our physical bodies, house our soul, and our soul is starting to take more interaction with our lives. The more we remember, I am already abundant. I am already redeemed. The outer world will catch up. It is not my job to wait for others to do the work. I've done the work. I've done the joyful sometimes heartbreaking memory. So I have already arrived at the Jubilee, at the RV. I know my name is, I am not my legal identity. I will witness in grace and I will continue being a responsible citizen. But know that they do not own me in any shape or form. I am a wild fox. I am a dragon. I am a confidant friend of Saint Germain. I have, what's the word? Uncountable, infinite guides, protectors. I am a protectress. I feel sometimes drawn to people just to stand next to them. Something about their energy needs a little soothing. If I feel that compulsion, I act on it. We all have our soul story to live. My soul story is a frequency keeper, an earth whisperer, grandmother who allows her grandsons to live in their own sacred space, to be the feminine to their new masculine, to watch over the earth, to tend the gardens, to speak to the soil and the trees and the animals, to share what I know with you in the community. And I would love for you to share with me. So I would love for you to rest in the frequency of hope, truth, and stillness. There is, hope isn't even a word that encompasses the feeling that I have for you and this beautiful life. It just doesn't match it. And so in the stillness and the beauty and the understanding that we are abundant creatures, we are graceful creatures, we can be in the stillness. And so this is appropriate time for me to ring the bell. And for all those awakening to their divine birthright. For the children, we love you, we see you, we honor you. You are safe and protected. You innocents wearing the cloak of mastery. This is not a revolution. This is a return, a gentle uprising of the soul, and we are ready. I am ready. I am here. I have arrived. And I welcome you to arrive at your own pace. It's up to you, my sovereign friend. Namaste.